Hi, my name is Wenjun, and today I'm going to talk about interpreter's visibility by using a role-play example. So, what is visibility? So, in the simple words, visibility means the interpreter is not just translating, but actually becomes part of the interaction and has some control over how the conversation develops. And this means the interpreter is not completely neutral or invisible, but actually can influence the communication to some extent. So in this presentation, I will look at two examples of visibility from the role play example. So one is strategic visibility, which is appropriate and necessary, and one another is the problematic visibility, which we should try to avoid in our interpreting. So let's talk about the strategic visibility. So in the role play, Jeff says, "Sorry, could I just check with her that her name correct?" And I think it's quite a good example of visibility because Jeff, the interpreter, is speaking as himself, rather than translating what Ivy has said. So here, the interpreter Jeff becomes a participant in the interaction and shows agency. And I think this is a strategic visibility because the interpreter Jeff makes a conscious decision to pause the interaction and clarify some important information. So in this case, checking Maria's name is very important because according to the Code of Ethics by NZSTI, interpreters must provide accurate and complete message transfer. So this supports the accuracy and effective communication. So on the other hand, let's talk about some problematic visibility. So still in the same role play example, in line 39, Jeff says, when Maria asks, is it all? And Jeff says, yes, it's all done. So this is also visibility because Jeff, the interpreter, is speaking at himself. However, this is a problematic because the interpreter answers Maria's question directly instead of interpreting to Ivy and then conveyed, like transferred interpreter back. So this means the interpreter Jeff is taking control and probably giving some unconfirmed information to Maria. And according to the Code of Ethics, interpreters should not aid or alter any message. Instead, if I was the interpreter, I would not just answer directly by myself, but I would interpret the question back to Ivy, and then I will give it back to Maria to make sure it was accurate. My reflection. So before I studied this course, I think a good interpreter should be like as neutral and invisible as possible, because we're supposed to be a translating machine, and not intervene in any kind of the conversation. However, my understanding was like changed completely because I realized that the interpreter cannot be absolutely invisible, because since we are there and we must have some kind of influence to the whole conversation. And so from the role play, I can see that the interpreters influence the interaction through their decisions. Sometimes visibility is not something we should avoid, but something we should manage carefully. So now I see the interpreter's role as more active and responsible. So it's about making some good decisions to like support effectively and ethical conversation, ethical communication. So, in summary, I think interpreter's visibility is a quite important part of real life interpreting, and it can be both like necessary and problematic. So, a good interpreter needs to like manage their visibility carefully, while we like obviously we have to like following some ethical principles. It's quite important. So, thank you for listening.